Hey everyone, it's Mr. Rice, and I want to take some time today to continue to explore the island as the microcosm of our society. And to do that, we're looking at the entire book as an allegory, which is something that the author himself in a publicity questionnaire mentioned. He said, "The whole book is symbolic in nature, except the rescue in the end, where adult life appears dignified and capable, but in reality enmeshed in the same evil as the symbolic life of the children on the island." So we're going to take a moment to look at some of those children, some of those characters, and see how that's symbolic of a greater meaning in the world. So the first one that we're going to look at as we analyze these characters is Ralph. Now, I noticed something as I was going through these names. I noticed that they actually had meanings that seemed to go along with the actual characters' names. And I thought that was interesting as I was looking up the characters' names. So I've gone ahead and included those. Some of them might not be as relevant, but I did want to point out a few things. So first of all, I want to look at the main character traits of some of these characters, and you'll find that some of these characters share the character traits, but do so in very different and unique ways. So let's look at Ralph first. Ralph's name literally means counsel. So if you've ever had a counselor, like a camp counselor, or if you've gone in to see a counselor at school, a guidance counselor, it's somebody who's trying to guide you, trying to lead you, which is exactly Ralph's role in this story. You'll note that throughout most of the story, he's very optimistic. He has a strong belief that someone will come to rescue the boys. From the very beginning, he said, "No, my dad's in the Navy. The Queen's got this whole room full of maps of all the islands everywhere, and so he's going to come with the Queen's help and find us. And don't you all worry. We just need to light a fire." However, because of that, he also develops a bit of an obsession with the fire. And you'll note I also put, and his fate is tied to the signal fire. That's because in this story, each character's fate, how they end up at the end, whether they're dead or alive, their fate is really tied to some type of symbol in many cases. In this case with Ralph, it's the signal fire, because the fire that was meant to kill him, to hunt him down at the very end, actually ends up saving him. It ends up signaling. So the thing that he was obsessed with the entire time brought him to his fate, which was rescue. Also, he embodies ideas of fairness and leadership. At the very beginning, they say him with the conch, he's the one that should lead us. And on top of that, we also have the idea of fairness, because when other people expressed, particularly Jack, expressed disdain for him being voted the leader, or a little bit of jealousy, he showed fairness by saying, "You know what, I'm going to give you a leadership role as well. You are in charge of all the choir boys as hunters." And so that's wise leadership as well as being fair, trying to give everybody a chance to speak with the conch, also more fairness. And he really does embody democracy, the best idea of democracy that those boys have on that island, and that he is trying to give a voice to everybody and listen to what other people have to say. Then you have Jack. Jack's name means one who supplants. To supplant is to take over, to take something that somebody else has and replace them with yourself. So essentially, that's what Jack's doing. He's taking Ralph's power. He's trying to supplant him as the leader. And he embodies a military or authoritarian power. You see, whenever he wants to influence somebody, he threatens them. He takes his knife out at the beginning and he stabs it into a tree, and he looks around challengingly, because he wants to make sure they know, hey, I have the strength, and if you want to be with me, then you will have strength on your side. But if you don't want to be with me, I will use it against you, which is something that happens to Sam and Eric at the end as they're tortured into joining his tribe. Jealousy and cruelty are also a part of who Jack is, because he's jealous of what Ralph has. He's jealous of that position. and he's not afraid to do cruel things in order to achieve that position. Additionally, he shows some ignorance in this. Rather than taking a step back and letting others lead, he's not really focusing on what he needs to. And that's also his short sightedness. He wants food right away, which is obviously a need, but there is fruit available. And he's only looking at that short term goal of saying, let's get some meat, rather than that long term goal of, hey, let's get rescued so that we can be provided for by other people. And as you saw at the beginning of, I believe, the third chapter, he's a bit obsessed with the hunt. He just wants to find the pigs and kill the pigs, and so much so that it starts to describe him in a way that is animal-like, that he's described as ape-like and dog-like, on all fours. He's sniffing the air, so he's hunting like an animal. And that kind of overtakes him to the point that he starts to hunt not just the animals, but his fellow humans by the end with Jack. Next, we have Simon. Simon's name means listener. And that's Simon was always very quiet in the background, listening to what other people had to say, sometimes to too much of a degree, because when he did need to speak up, he was a little too embarrassed to do so. But he takes on a more spiritual role on the island. And in fact, quite often, many scholars have suggested that Simon represents a biblical allegory of a Christ figure. His name itself, Simon, is one of Jesus's closest apostles, Simon Peter. And as a biblical allegory, that Christ figure, he is trying to reveal truth to his companions. He's trying to point out that they are the ones that are the beast. He says at one point, maybe it's just us, and they don't really pay attention to what he says. And when he's talking with the pig's head, he gets that awareness reflected back to them that it is them. They are the beast. He finds the paratrooper. He sees the paratrooper was just this dead guy. It wasn't an actual beast. There is no beast but themselves. So he goes to share. He frees that paratrooper, and then he goes to share with the others that the great news, like, hey, there is no beast to be afraid of. It's just you, so you can change. And unfortunately, they kill him for trying to reveal that truth to them, or before he can reveal it fully to them. So there is a biblical allegory of a Christ figure being killed while trying to reveal truth of moral truths to people. He also shows an optimism, just like Ralph is optimistic, but his optimism is for others. So when Ralph is afraid about not getting home, he says, I think you will. I think you'll get back all right. But notice he does not say, will get back all right. He says it's for others, because he realizes that as an epileptic, without any medication, without any means to treat it, he likely will be in a situation sooner or later where he is going to die. He is aware of his impending death. He does not have a means to treat his condition on the island. He does his best to get to a calm place, but it's not a condition that he can hide forever, nor is it one that he can medicate in any way. He is, though, kind-hearted and compassionate, very much the opposite of Jack. When he's going off to his little place, he feels one of his epileptic fits coming on. Even on his way to deal with that, before that happens, these little kids, the little ones, run up and say, we want fruit. We want the good fruit up high that we can't reach. And he takes the time, even feeling a fit coming on, he takes the time to pull some of that fruit down for the little children. He helps Ralph build the huts, and he's all around just a compassionate, kind-hearted individual. Finally, we have Piggy. Piggy's name literally it's Piggy, right? We're not given an actual name, and so we go off of that nickname. And he does kind of take on the roles of the piggies on the island, the innocent little creatures that just get attacked all the time. He is very much the scientist. He represents civilization in the scientific view of the world, and he's trying to create a sundial at one point. He talks about bringing the fire down to the beach. He very much likes to look at things rationally. And that's why, as an advisor to Ralph, he also represents rational thought, thinking through things clearly. When Ralph loses it after they kill Simon and gets a little bit shell shocked, Piggy's there to help him remember fire. We need fire for rescue. Ultimately, his fate is tied to the conch shell. You would think it would be his glasses, but no, the conch shell, that's what he's concerned about. Even when they steal his glasses, he's concerned about the conch shell. And when the boulder is rolled down and hits him, knocks him down, that's also when the conch shell is destroyed. So that's a separation from civilized society. That's a separation from rational thought into savagery when the conch shell is destroyed and when Piggy dies. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Stay tuned for part 2 of the character analysis a little bit later today. Thanks. Bye.
Westmont.